What is up, my beautiful people on YouTube? So one of my subscribers asked me a question, and I figured it would make a good topic for a vlog. And the question was, why did I start riding? So now I guess this all really goes back to when I was a young witness, when I was a little tyke. I've always been into motorcycles. I've always loved them. Every time I saw a motorcycle pass, I'd always make that face. If you don't know that face, it's probably because you don't ride. So anyway, I was always into bikes when I was a kid. Always loved them. So it wasn't until in my adulthood that I finally decided to say, you know what, I want to get my motorcycle license, and I want to start learning into how to ride, and kind of building those skills. And then upon receiving the endorsement on my license, once you get that, the desire to ride a bike, it's overwhelming. I wanted to ride so bad. I needed a bike right then and there. I had to have one. There was no waiting. There was no, saving up more money. It was like, I had to buy one. So I think I had, I want to say $1,500 or $2,000, something like that. So I started looking, and I found on Craigslist a 1995 Kawasaki ZX6R. Looked like it was in pretty decent condition. I went to the guy's place. He actually let me test ride it. I test drove the bike. It seemed to be riding in okay condition, but mind you, I just got my license, so I had no idea what to look for and what not, what are the red flags, what are the things that you should be looking for in a motorcycle. I had no knowledge of this. So I don't know, holy shit. Did you guys see that? A branch just fell in the middle of the road. So yeah, I didn't know what to look for. I just thought a bike's a bike. If it runs, I'm good. But that's not the case. There was little things that I probably would have noticed, now with the experience that I have now. I probably would have picked up on those things. But I got suckered into that Craigslist, plus with the excitement of wanting to have a new bike, or a new bike for me, I guess you could say, a used bike. I was just so blinded. I was like, I don't care, here, take my money. Please, just take it. Give me a bike. I have to have one. And so I bought that ZX6R off of this dude on Craigslist. And as it turned out, that bike was a nightmare. I ended up having a laundry list of issues with that bike. I ended up sinking so much money into repairs and all kinds of stuff that eventually it became more than what the bike was worth, and I ended up saying, to hell with it, and I got rid of the bike. I sold it, I traded it in, I got something else. But, that was my first lesson learned into motorcycles. When you go buy a new or used, a new for you, a used motorcycle, when you go to buy a used motorcycle and it's maybe your first bike, you probably want to bring somebody along with you that has experience with bikes and have them test drive it as well, and have them see if they can pick up on any little key things that, might be wrong with the bike, and they can advise you and say, hey, this bike is not exactly worth the $2,000 or whatever it is that you're going to pay for it. Or, maybe they say, hey, this is a hell of a deal. This is a great bargain. You should definitely buy this. I didn't really have that help at that time. So, it was just all on me. So I ended up basically getting screwed over in that deal. So fast forward a little bit after fixing that bike, and I ended up moving out of Miami. I moved to New York. And I lived in New York for a while. And while I was in New York, I didn't have a bike. Like when I moved out there, I sold my car because I didn't need a car in New York. And I didn't have my bike out there. I had hadn't shipped all my stuff out to New York. I was still kind of just getting myself established, and things are very expensive in New York. So I never actually had a motorcycle out there in New York. I just took the train to work and everywhere I wanted to go. Fast forward more time, and I end up moving back to Miami. I'm only in Miami now at this point, maybe until the end of this year. And then I'll probably end up moving back to New York. But when I came down here, I knew that this was only temporary. I knew I was only going to be here for, a certain amount of time, a short period of time. Knowing that I was only going to be here on a temporary basis, I didn't want to get into another car payment. I didn't want to buy a car, and I didn't want to have a car payment, an insurance payment. All that stuff is really expensive, and I wasn't going to be working much because I was just going to school primarily. So I wouldn't really have the money to afford, paying for a car payment, paying for an insurance payment, and all that stuff. So the next thought that came into my mind was, well, get a motorcycle. You have a motorcycle license. You love motorcycles. Get that. That sounds awesome. Do that. Just for those of you who don't know, in the state of Florida, insurance on motorcycles is not a requirement. So that was the other the factor that went through my head and said, oh, this is a lot less expensive than getting a car, because the payments on the bike is going to be less expensive, and you don't have to have insurance. Gas is cheaper. Well, that sounds like a brilliant idea. That was really nice of that guy. He actually pulled over to let me pass. So yeah, so that's pretty much how I convinced myself to say, I'm just going to ride a motorcycle as my daily commuter. Because really all I'm doing is going from home to school, from school to work a couple of days a week, if that. And that's it. I'm not really going all over the place. As it turns out, really? Wow. I think I was speeding past that cop, but I didn't see him until the last second. And he didn't pull out, so I'm good to go. I'm in the clear, baby. Woohoo! So yeah, so I wasn't going to be riding a lot. It was like, I just needed it as a means of transport to get to school, to do my thing, and that's basically it. And as it turns out, now it's become more of a life for me. I still haven't bought a car since I've been here, but I bought a new bike. I deal with everything that there is in Miami. I deal with the traffic on the bike. I deal with the rain on the bike. And the truth be told, I just, as much as all that sucks, dealing with traffic on a bike because it's hot, it's sweaty, it's Miami, and the rain, it's miserable, you get soaked. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. The truth is, at the end of the day, I just don't want a car payment. I don't want a car payment. I don't want an insurance payment. All of that stuff is really expensive, and I don't want to deal with it. If I were to buy a car here in Miami, I still would use this as my daily driver. I would just drive the car on days that it's raining or something, or if I need to really tow, like I have a lot of shit to carry, then maybe I'd use the car. But other than that, I'd stick to my bike. I love riding motorcycles. It's a lot of fun. It's very much become a part of who I am. And when I end up moving back to New York later this year or early next year, depending on how that works out, I already did my research, and I already know, pretty much where I'm going to keep my bike. Not going to be on the street, don't worry. It's going to be locked up and secure. But I'm definitely planning on bringing my bike to New York, because I can't imagine not having a motorcycle. It's just a crazy thought to me. Granted, I probably won't ride much in the city, because in the city I doubt I'll get out of second gear. but I can go upstate New York, Long Island. There's plenty of spots to ride out there. Beautiful. So I hope that kind of answers your question as to why I started riding. You know, at first it was just out of a love for bikes because I thought they were really cool. And then it became out of necessity. And now it's become to the point where it's just who I am. It's a part of me. And that's why I ride. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'll check you out in the next video.